On this Sunday night, Canada's first golden moment at the Milano Cortina Olympics. Mogul skier Mikael Kingsbury stands at the top of the podium one last time.
It's more than a dream come true.
Winning Canada's first gold medal of these games. Plus, the plan to boost domestic defense spending and create thousands of Canadian jobs. Nova Scotians to the rescue.
It's very sad. I worry for the people in Cuba.
The effort to send aid to Cuba in the face of canceled flights and a U.S. fuel embargo. And saved from a Manitoba landfill.
If we can help them, they are going to contribute to the community.
How millions worth of new clothing is being gifted to those most in need.
Global National. Reporting tonight, Colleen Christie.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Canada finally earned its first gold medal at the Milano Cortina Olympics today, and it was all thanks to the man they called the King of Moguls. Mikael Kingsbury came out on top for the very first dual Moguls competition. Our Mike Armstrong is in Milan covering the games, and Mike, looks like we finally have that monkey off our back.
Well, we do, Colleen, and even though he has a fairly full trophy case at home already, the moment was almost overwhelming for the man in the middle of it. In what will be the last run of his Olympic career, Mikael Kingsbury added to his legend. In the final, he was up against a longtime rival, another superstar in the sport. But the Japanese skier stumbled before the last jump and then missed it completely. The 33-year-old Kingsbury came to Italy with one goal, gold. He missed one Thursday in singles moguls, settling for silver by a sliver. But on this day, the judges' scores were just a formality.
It's better than I ever expected. I mean, finishing my Olympic career with, 5 medals and 5 stars, and the last one is gold, first in history in mogul skiing. It's more than a dream come true.
In hockey, Team Canada got goals from 9 different scorers, routing France 10-2. Connor McDavid had a third straight 3-point game. Macklin Celebrini had 2 goals, and Tom Wilson had a rarity in Olympic hockey, a fight. Dropping the gloves can be a suspension, but it's not automatic, and Wilson will be able to continue playing. The men's next game is Tuesday. Canada's women are back at it Monday, playing a semi-final game against Switzerland. Now, in figure skating, near disaster for what was one of the most inspiring stories of these games. The Canadian pair of Diana Stellato-Dudek and Maxime Deschamps skated in the short program. Stellato-Dudek coming off an injury and at 42 is the oldest skater in the competition by far. The pair had an early stumble and a late fall. They finished in 14th place. But in a shocker, another Canadian pair on the biggest stage put up a personal best. Leah Pereira and Trent Michaud are in 3rd place. Both Canadian pairs qualified for the long skate Monday with medals on the line. Well, Mikael Kingsbury is hoping his success leads to more for Team Canada. He says he'd been hearing talk of a gold medal curse at these games and hopes he broke it. In fact, he's hoping Canadian athletes now go on a streak. Colleen?
Fingers crossed. Mike Armstrong in Milan. Thanks, Mike. That first gold puts Canada on the board in the medal standings. We're in 15th place. Norway, with a population of just 5.6 million people, is leading the way with 12 golds. 4 of Norway's gold medals are the result of this guy, Jonas Klæbo, who is now the most decorated Winter Olympian of all time. Klæbo earned his 9th gold medal today in the men's cross-country relay race. We have an update on one of the surviving victims of the Tumbler Ridge school shooting. 12-year-old Maya Gabala remains in critical condition at a Vancouver hospital after being shot in the head and neck. On Facebook, Maya's father says she has begun attempting to breathe on her own, and there's slight dilation to her eye, which they're taking as positive signs. In the meantime, the school district for Tumbler Ridge Secondary plans to share details later this week on how students there will continue their education. The district says it doesn't expect to reopen the existing school site. Canada has unveiled a plan to bolster its domestic defense industry and reduce reliance on the U.S. for military equipment. Documents by the federal government lay out a multi-billion-dollar plan to boost defense investments over the next decade and generate around 125,000 jobs. That includes growing defense exports by 50% and increasing defense acquisitions awarded to Canadian firms to 70%. The strategy was supposed to have been announced last week, but was postponed due to the Tumbler Ridge tragedy. Canada's new electric vehicle rebates go into effect tomorrow. Canadians buying EVs costing less than $50,000 will once again get a $5,000 rebate from Ottawa or $2,500 for a plug-in hybrid. Canadian-made Chrysler Pacificas and Dodge Chargers are exempt from the $50,000 cap, while Chinese-made EVs don't qualify. Only EVs from countries Canada does free trade with are eligible. Cabinet Minister Dominic LeBlanc, the point man for Canada's trade and economy files, began a diplomatic visit to Mexico today to deepen trade ties between the two countries. LeBlanc will be in Mexico until Friday, along with delegates representing Canadian businesses and economic partners. They're aiming to explore new opportunities with Mexico in a number of areas, including agriculture, manufacturing, and clean energy. It marks the latest effort by Canada to diversify trade ties ahead of renegotiating CUSMA with Mexico and the Trump administration. Canadian charities that send aid to Cuba are concerned about the impact of the U.S. oil embargo on the country. Canadian airlines have had to cancel flights to Cuba, which is also preventing aid from reaching people there. For decades, nonprofits in Nova Scotia have sent assistance to Cuba. Heidi Petracek shows us how they're trying to help and what they'd like the federal government to do.
For years, registered nurse Simone Feller has helped send medical supplies to Cuba with the help of tourists.
Travelers will take a suitcase of medical supplies with them and then actually bring it to a clinic or a hospital. We'll have things like face shields, lots of masks.
But with fuel shortages prompting Canadian airlines to suspend service, there's no travelers and no supplies.
The need is still there. It's very sad. I worry for the people in Cuba.
U.S. President Donald Trump's executive order imposing tariffs on countries supplying oil to Cuba has cut off a precious resource.
It's used in, energy for hospitals, clinics, old folks' homes. You could actually call this a crime against humanity because this kind of thing costs lives.
Dr. Timothy Bode sends donated medical supplies to Cuba through the Nova Scotia-Cuba Association and still hopes to send a full shipping container in April.
And as far as I know, ships can still go to Cuba with supplies. For example, Mexico has sent 2 ships to Cuba with aid.
The price of the fuel for the taxis is going up.
Jeff Goodspeed often stays in Cuba for long periods and has helped Cubans for decades in a cultural exchange. The Nova Scotian musician sends instruments to Cuban youth in the same container as Dr. Bode's medical supplies. He says Canadians and Cubans now have another shared experience, trade tensions with Trump.
Cuba's been on the front line of this thing for many years, and here they are again.
With estimates Cuba could run out of fuel in 3 months, one international development professor says things will get worse for Cubans, but other nations could step in.
If countries in the Americas and Europe take that stand, then that in itself flexes that autonomy against Trump's bellicosity in the hemisphere.
And why not send aid on behalf of the government the way Mexico is doing? Why not?
A question from nonprofits who say they're not done trying to help Cubans in crisis. Heidi Petracek, Global News, Halifax.
A group of travelers is demanding answers from Air Transat. They were en route to Toronto from Cuba and say the airline forced them to overnight in Montreal without explanation. Some saying it cost them thousands of dollars. Phil Carpenter reports.
These Toronto-bound Air Transat passengers at Trudeau Airport in Montreal say they're furious.
And they said, we're not offering you a hotel, but your flight's tomorrow night at 7:15 p.m. and you have to look after yourself. And I said, but you stranded me here.
They arrived in Montreal Saturday evening from Cuba after they say their departure was delayed by a day. They believe the flight was changed because of the fuel crisis in Cuba, which forced several airlines to cancel flights to the island.
I got to the airport and I said, what's happening? And they said, well, once we land in Montreal, the plane will continue on and deliver you to Toronto.
That reassurance was from an Air Transat crew in Cuba, according to the passengers. But when they arrived in Montreal, according to them, Air Transat reps told them that they'd be booked on a flight for Sunday. The travelers say there was miscommunication and confusion.
I was apparently put on a list. I went to one hotel, and the hotel didn't have me on that list. I had to take a shuttle back here again and ask information to help me find what list or where I was to go.
According to the passengers, they were assigned different hotels and only some of them were fed.
No voucher, no food, and in 24 hours we didn't get any food. Like in airplane, in hotel, we just bought a pizza with our money.
The travelers, who according to group members number around 60, say they want an explanation and compensation, saying the one-day delay in Montreal has cost some thousands of dollars in lost revenue or additional expenses.
I expect to be home on Friday. It's really just like annoying, right? Like I need to do my schoolwork. I'm in grade 11.
One air passenger rights advocate explains that passengers are eligible for compensation if changes to flights are made for operational reasons.
Those are situations within the carrier's control. So what the passengers are owed is meals, accommodation, ground transportation to and from the hotel, and up to $1,000 in cash compensation.
Air Transat says the accounts from the passengers are inconsistent with the company's internal reports and that the airline is looking into the matter. Phil Carpenter, Global News, Montreal.
Winnipeg's police headquarters is closed to the public today due to a flood. A massive cleanup is underway and damage is being assessed after several emergency water supply valves were opened in a neighboring building. Officials initially believed pipes burst or a water main broke Saturday night, but later said 2 people were arrested nearby and charged with 6 counts of mischief over $5,000.
A 51-year-old man and a 36-year-old woman are both facing charges of mischief over $5,000 times 6.
This comes as an inquiry is underway into massive cost overruns and allegations of bribery involving construction of that building. There has been a new development in the search for Nancy Guthrie, mother of TV host Savannah Guthrie. The FBI is saying a glove containing DNA found near Guthrie's home appears to match those worn by a suspect captured on a doorbell camera. Investigators released this video last week of a masked man outside Guthrie's door the night she disappeared. The glove was one of around 16 found near Guthrie's home. The FBI says most of the gloves belong to searchers who simply tossed them while working in the area. Final test results could come in about 24 hours. The rapid spread of a potentially deadly virus. Coming up, first Canada and the UK, now why the US is at risk of losing its measles elimination status. And the push for earlier colon cancer screenings in Canada. The U.S. military has intercepted another sanctioned oil tanker in the Indian Ocean after tracking it from the Caribbean Sea. Video from the Department of Defense shows troops boarding the Veronica 3, which they say tried to defy President Donald Trump's quarantine. The Trump administration has seized a number of vessels after announcing a blockade in December of all sanctioned oil tankers going in and out of Venezuela. Tonight, the troubling resurgence of a potentially deadly and easily spread disease that was once eradicated here and in the United States. As more and more people opt out of vaccinating themselves and their children, measles has come back with a vengeance. Candace Cole reports.
At just 7 weeks into the new year, the U.S. has already reached 910 cases of measles infections, according to the latest numbers released Thursday by the Centers for Disease Control, the majority of cases among kids and teens ages 5 to 19. South Carolina is the current hotspot of the disease with 616 cases so far, marking the largest single outbreak in over 3 decades, followed by Utah and Florida. The latter currently in the throes of its own outbreak at a college campus in southern Florida.
I started to get a little rash, and then
I started to get a sore throat, a cough.
And in Canada, 135 cases have been confirmed so far, with more than half of those cases in Manitoba, according to the Canadian government. But the historical data is staggering. For nearly 30 years, Canada went from having an average of 91 cases per year to over 5,400 in 2025. Along with a drop in vaccine rates, the ease with which the virus is spread could also drive up the number of cases.
Many viruses are transmissible by what are called fomites, so the little particles that we cough or sneeze out. But measles is truly aerosolized. And so measles can be transmitted through ventilation ducts. Most viruses can't.
Both Canada and the UK have lost their measles elimination status, and the US is in danger of doing the same. Vaccine skepticism in the United States has surged since US President Donald Trump took office for a second time in 2025. The US Department of Health and Human Services, led by known anti-vaxxer Robert F. Kennedy Jr., recently dropped the number of recommended childhood vaccines from 17 to 11. However, the measles shot remains on the list of recommendations. Candace Cole, Global News, Washington.
Ahead, why doctors say Canadians should be screened for colon cancer at a younger age. The death of Dawson Creek star James Van Der Beek at just 49 has put colorectal cancer in the spotlight. As Catherine Ward reports, Canadian doctors say patients need to be screened at a younger age.
Melissa Groff loves to watch her kids dance and spend time at the cottage with family. She never predicted a time limit would be set on her life and these joy-filled moments.
I started to notice a change in my bowel habits. The stool shape had changed. I was going more frequently. And then as some time progressed, I started noticing some blood on the toilet paper.
Melissa remembers getting checked just after her youngest daughter's first birthday. A colonoscopy revealed the 34-year-old had rectal cancer.
And to be honest, I had never heard of rectal cancer before. I didn't know what colorectal cancer was. I don't have any family history of it, and I didn't know anyone personally with it. I was diagnosed at stage 3. I'm now at a stage 4 disease. The doctors have told me that they no longer believe I'm in a curative state.
Doctors say national trends indicate people are getting diagnosed at younger ages.
These are young people who are, raising families, carrying on with their job and their busy lives and really just ignoring the symptoms or in some cases just dismissing them. And unfortunately, a year later or so, when we see them, often the disease can be really advanced and sometimes it's essentially too late for us to be able to offer a curative option.
However, provincial guidelines for routine screening don't start for most until the age of 50. But doctors say if caught early, treatments can be very effective.
When you have a stage 1 cancer, it's 90%. Once you get to stage 4, which means it's spread to other organs, that survival goes down significantly.
Melissa's cancer has unfortunately spread, and more chemotherapy will likely be needed.
It spread to pelvic lymph nodes, and it also more recently spread to my lung. So I did have a surgery on my left lung last year to remove a nodule, and since then I've seen metastasis in both of my lungs.
Her message to others is simple.
Pay attention to your body. Look out for those symptoms. If you're not sure what's going on, please talk to your family doctor.
Catherine Ward, Global News, Toronto.
Next, rescuing new clothes from the landfill to fill newcomers' closets. Much of the world is looking at ways to reduce the clothing industry's impact on the environment. But a small-town nonprofit is miles ahead. Volunteers in Inwood, Manitoba have diverted $9 million worth of brand new clothes destined for a landfill to the closets of people in need. Melissa Ridgen explains.
Madeline's closet looks like many small-town boutiques, except everything here is free. It started nearly 2 decades ago when Shannon DuPont learned that most clothing companies destroy or throw away unsold merchandise.
That horrified me, and I said, why don't you give it to places like women's shelters and that? And it was because they put it in their thrift stores and they would sell it. And I said, if I never sell it, can I take it? And they said, sure. And Madeline's Closet was born.
24 stores now give her their unsold goods, diverting a whopping 92 tons of clothing from landfills through 4 free boutiques like this.
We are able to serve anywhere up to 1,500 individuals a month at this location, and we service the whole Inch Lake region, which is 15,000 square kilometers.
Folks sign up to come in once a month to shop.
And you get to pick out 3 pieces of clothing or household items at no cost, and you could to do that for each person in your family, and away you go.
Feminine hygiene products also free. It's a blessing to many families, including those who've recently come to Canada.
Lots of Ukrainian families come every month because most of them it's large family. We have 6 children.
Outfitting growing kids would usually mean going without for Natalia Lazova.
Especially for women, mother of large families, it's really hard to buy something new.
Goodwill is a smart investment, says the Reeve.
If we can help them, they are going to contribute to the community, and their family's going to contribute to the community.
Shauna Christie is a single mom of 2 teens who started as a client and is now one of 38 volunteers.
Simple things as a piece of clothing, sometimes followed with a hug from someone in the community, can go a really long way.
It goes a long way, too, in helping the environment. University of Alberta textiles and clothing waste researcher Rachel McQueen says it may come as news to Canadians that many stores trash unsold clothes.
The industry is designed to make us want to buy more, but as an individual, if people want to be, they can be more aware and more careful.
A ban on the destruction of unsold clothing comes into effect in the summer by the European Union. In Canada, consultations are underway as the federal government looks for ways to increase the circularity of the clothing industry here. In the meantime, Madeline's Closet is proving that one person's trash is indeed another's treasure. Melissa Ridgen, Global News, Inwood, Manitoba.
And that is Global National for this Sunday night. I'm Colleen Christie. Tonight's Your Canada is Grundy Lake, Manitoba. We love seeing Your Canada. Please keep emailing your photos to globalnational@globalnews.ca. Thanks for watching, and Gaviola will be at the anchor desk tomorrow. Have a great night.